Back to our breaking news here on SportsCenter. The NFL is cutting the preseason in half. ESPN's Kevin Seifert is reporting that the league has canceled weeks 1 and 4 of its original preseason schedule. Most players will still report to training camp on July 28th, but the first preseason games won't be played until August 20th. There will be one home and one away game on the schedule for each team. NFL insider Dianna Rossini joining us with much more on this story. Dianna, what's behind the reason why the league canceled half the preseason?
All right, I'll give you the two big reasons. One, travel, right? They want to make sure that people aren't going in other locations that aren't controlled. So that way teams, they stay at their facilities as much as they possibly can without having to get on the road, okay? So that's obviously because of COVID. The second part I think is really interesting, and this was really strong coming from the NFLPA's group here when they were having these discussions. Teams need to physically get in football shape. They need to get ready. We know so many gyms were closed. Guys were having these makeshift weight rooms in their garages. As much as we've seen on social media, football players working out, it's not the same as it's going to be when they're at their facilities with all the access to their weight rooms and the fields and playing together. So this is really about a fitness thing and getting them football ready.
Excellent point. To the other side here, Dianna, so you got new coaches, you got new systems, you got new players everywhere to get on the same page here. How are teams reacting to the canceled games?
A schedule. That's what they're relieved about. Finally, it feels like there's some direction. It's July 1st here, and we all started the day here having really no idea except for the fact that training camp was going to start July 28th. I did have a source shoot me a text, though, and he says that he expects for his team to be in pads, along with the other teams in the league, around that August 10th date. So that's when we'll start seeing some contact. So that's some good news. But in terms of getting back out there, it feels like everyone is in control. They just needed a plan. And now they've got the plan, and now it's really just about them getting out there, being safe about it.
You mentioned that. Okay, a plan and being safe. In regards of keeping everyone safe, coaches and players, what is being discussed?
Yeah, there are a lot of different conversations being had right now. I had one head coach tell me one of his biggest concerns is that he has a lot of older assistants on his staff. Obviously, older people are in bigger trouble with this COVID situation, right? So the threat is bigger for them. But also the other layer to this is, what are these players going to actually be doing to make sure they don't get COVID in case someone tests positive? I was told that there was discussions about having tracers, bracelets on their wrist that can monitor every single interaction so they can keep up with who's talking to who's around who, on top of making sure that the helmet could possibly have an extra shield in front of their faces to prevent that interaction, almost like a mask, but obviously something that would be see-through. So again, this is all being discussed at this point. And the league and the NFLPA, they're really the two sides here that have to come to agreement. As we know, the NFLPA, they're going to do everything they can to make sure that these players are protected.
Okay, we still got 4 weeks, so we can see how this plays out with all the topics being discussed. As many teams scheduled to report July 28th. Dianna Rossini on the NFL cutting its preseason in half to just 2 games next month. Sage?
Here are some key upcoming dates with the adjustment here. Players must report to training camp by July 28th. That date remains the same. And again, the first preseason game scheduled now for August 20th. The NFL and the Players Association Committee will soon issue guidelines spelling out a schedule for them to acclimate with 23 days of training camp before that first preseason game. On that note, we welcome in NFL analyst Ryan Clark back live with us here on SportsCenter. And Ryan, it's such a fine line between everybody really begging to get back to work, back to normal, play some football, and trying to stay safe. That said, what's your reaction to the news?
I mean, I think the news is kind of expected when you look at the way that this offseason has gone. And the NFL is being reactive in a way, and the NFLPA is being reactive in a way and saying, we lost an entire offseason. We need to make sure that guys get healthy. But it also makes you question what the season will be like. When will it start? Will it start on time? What happens is there is this large infection like we're seeing in soccer or you're seeing in basketball on certain teams. And obviously there's more players, but what happens to each team as they quarantine? And so there are so many questions that are going to surround this NFL season that I don't necessarily think you can have a plan. And I believe Adam Silver, the commissioner of the NBA, said it best. It's never full steam ahead when it comes to COVID-19 and the way that the seasons will play out. So you have to react to everything, make sure there's contingency plans in place, and make the adjustments as you go.
Yeah, so everybody wants a schedule, wants to know what the plan is, but it's helpful for everybody to wait to make sure they make the right decision for everybody. What's your gut, though, Ryan, on the regular season?
My gut is the regular season will be shortened, maybe even have a stoppage. And I think that the NFL should plan for that by right now coming out with a schedule that is shorter, coming out with a schedule that is more favorable as it pertains to travel for each team. Let's get ahead of this thing and make sure we can have a season, even if that season is different, that protects our players, that provides you with the season that gives you a champion, but also attacks this thing in a way that they can make moves and adjustments as things go along and not everything go haywire. The NFL is thinking that we're the big bad NFL. We can get this done, but I promise you that COVID-19 is showing us that we have no plans, that it cannot change.